Everything's crashing. What on earth should we be doing with our money? We have been sold a lie. We believe it because it makes us feel good, but it is exactly that. It's a lie, and it is making other people a lot of money. And on the surface, low VOC paint, recycled plastic products, hybrid cars, organic food, LED light bulbs, and strict regulations sound like a great idea, an earth-saving idea. You've been hoodwinked. All of this is making other people a lot of money. CO2 emissions are continuing to climb. Deforestation and desertification, that's a hard word to say, they continue. They're still climbing. And the money, it continues to move from the hands of the poorest to the hands of the richest. So what should we be spending our money on? What should we be investing in? Ourselves, our legacy, our children, stuff that we're going to leave behind that's actually going to make a difference. Take an apple tree, for example. It might cost you $50 or even $100. But over the next 100 years, which it will live as long as no one cuts it down, it can provide 25,000 kilos or 50,000 pounds of apples. Now, even in today's prices, at $4 to $6 a kilo, that is a lot of money. You're looking at $100,000 in cash money saved by planting this one $50 tree. What other investment could give you that kind of return? Put your money into something that's going to last. Fruit trees, nut trees, water harvesting, ponds, anything that can build the soil and actually capture the carbon out of the atmosphere and bury it back down into the soil where it belongs. We can turn society around. We do not need some rich man and his unelected cronies telling us what we need to do to fix this earth. We can build resilient communities that don't rely on corporate powers. We can leave a legacy for the generations to come that's not a deserted, dry, useless piece of dirt and a life of poverty. We can leave them an earth full of abundance and plenty. But how do we do this? We need to see through their nonsense. Instead of buying organic food, which once again, they've taken the label, they've corrupted it completely, and now they're charging you more for something that you think is good. You look at the long list of chemicals that they can spray on organic food. That food is no longer organic, it's no longer spray free, and it is no longer good for you, but you do pay a premium for it. Instead of all these things, grow your own food. Join a co-op. Find your local farmers that are growing food well. They might not be certified, but they probably treat their ground and treat their food with a lot better care and respect than some of these big ag companies that are just out for their bottom dollar. Maybe stop recycling. They're big, right? Most of the recycling we do in New Zealand goes to the dump anyway. Before that, we shipped it to China so that they had to deal with it. Instead of recycling, maybe just stop buying stuff that's in packaging that needs to be recycled. Maybe we need to learn to make our own stuff and reuse what we've got and create new things out of existing things. Maybe we need to stop just throwing everything away. Buy less and produce more. We need to become producers, not consumers. Instead of donating to some faceless, nameless charity, oh my goodness, look into the corruption of some of the big charities. Those rich billionaires that run charities, they're not in it for the poor people. Instead of doing that, do some local action on local groups. Find someone nearby that really needs some help and organize a committee of real people to really help them. Instead of conserving power and conserving water, maybe instead of that we should be producing power, and maybe we should be harvesting rainwater and using that instead of just letting our stormwater take all our topsoil out to sea. Maybe we should be creating mini permaculture systems in our backyards that collect and store and permeate. It's a hard word. Let that water get back down into the soil and recharge our aquifers. Become an active member of your community. We can't do this alone. Self-sufficiency is a misnomer. We should be in community and we should be working together. Imagine it. Imagine if we joined forces and we replicated and we rebuilt and we avoided the consumer culture that currently exists. We all become producers. We look after each other. And we actually care about the people and the land that we live in. We just need to totally change our entire priorities as a society. But we can do it. and we can focus on each other and building decentralized systems that don't rely on big companies, things that can't be controlled by governments, things that can't be controlled by big banks. Barter with people. Help support small-scale growers and small local businesses. Imagine if we lived in a community that actually cared. Is this something you're interested in? I think we together can learn a lot of these skills. I know not everyone has these skills right now, but that's not to say that someone else nearby doesn't. Is this something you want to see happen in our society? What are you doing about it? What are your top tips for somebody who wants to get started? My first one would be plant some food. It might just be in some containers on the patio, but it's a start, and it's a start to a mind shift. And once you've learned how to grow those, then you can expand and maybe start a community garden. Maybe you do a food share thing where you grow in someone else's property, and as rent, you pay them in vegetables. There's so many things we could be doing. Let's stop throwing our money at the people that don't need it and start sowing it into places that it's going to flourish, that it's going to leave a legacy for the generations that come after us. I don't know if you can tell, but this is something I'm really passionate about. I'm sick of seeing billionaires making more and more money while people who live below the poverty line are getting poorer and poorer and cannot afford to feed their children any longer. It's not good enough, and we need to do something about it. You with me? Do you want to get started growing your own food? Check out this video here. I think it's a great place to start. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for listening to my rant, and I will see you in the next one.